Hey y'all, how's it going? Welcome back to Architectural Adventures with Reverb. In this series, we are going to be recreating buildings from real life, sourced from and inspired by pictures from either the internet or pictures I've personally taken myself throughout the years and just have accumulated over time. For today's build, we are going to be building the famous Monticello, the home of Thomas Jefferson up in Charlottesville, Virginia. And these pictures are pictures I've personally taken myself many years ago when I visited it. It was a really cool place and kind of one of the first pictures that I took of architecture buildings that really got me inspired to really appreciate architecture. So I'm super excited to be able to build it. We will be building on this plot of land that I have cleared out for us right behind me. And as you can see in my hotbar, I already have some building materials. As you can see, it is mostly a brick building. So I wanted to add obviously brick, and we have some granite for texturing, and we have some white for the cool columns and the pediments, as they're called, that are those weird triangle roof thingies above the columns. So as you can see, we have two pictures of reference point. We have the front and the back of the building. Now I want the front to be on this edge here and the back to be over there, so the front will be facing towards the more central area that we have here that will eventually be populated with other buildings so that they can all be interconnected. We do have our first building here, and we'll connect a trail to our new building when it gets built, trying to essentially build a bit of a village or a town of all the random wacky buildings we end up building over time. Now, how I like to start these buildings is I try to frame it out and get a sense of scale first. And I do that by looking at what is the lowest variable that I'm working with. Like, what is the smallest part and how many blocks is that going to be, and that'll determine the proportion sizes for everything else. My eyes are drawn to the front of the building. We have the columns and we have some windows and doors. Now, these doors are glass doors, which we can't recreate in Minecraft, and they're also two doors rather than a single door, and that's important because this will determine if we are going to be doing something that is an odd number of blocks long or an even number of blocks long. However, we also have the pediment on top, and that is a triangle with a single point, and so that would push me to making this odd number where we have a middle block rather than two middle blocks. And for the sake of creative liberty, I'm going to actually do one block wide door rather than two doors side by side. And so I think what will be best is to have our single door and a block on each side. So you can imagine 3 block wide right in the middle with another block on each side for columns, then 3 more and then columns. And that'll do our entryway. Now, I always like to start with the entrance itself, so let's do that. This one's going to be a little tricky because it's not just a flat entrance, it's actually an octagon, which is very Thomas Jefferson to do. So trying to figure out that will be a little tricky, especially if we're limiting ourselves to 3 blocks wide. Here's what I have so far. It's starting to come together a little bit. Didn't know what to do about the doors, so I added this, and this is the best we can do. I extended the glass down to the bottom of the floor, because if you can see, the windows actually go to the floor. And we have our window here, our central one, and we have a little tiny window. It's at the bottom on each one. I also added this crown molding here and these fences, and that'll serve as the guardrail up at the top. We still have our wings jutting out, and that'll be a good roof. Alright, our next section are the 2 hexagonals. Okay, this thing is starting to take shape a little bit. We have our wings here getting fleshed out. We have one more section left, which isn't even technically a section of the building. It's more of an entryway on each side, but that'll only jut out a couple more blocks. Although, now that I'm looking at it, you can see we're starting to run out of room on the plot of land I have, because this is essentially this is a little less than half of the width of the house. So it'll extend out like a little bit more and then start to circle back around, kind of like how we have here. One other thing, before I forget to mention, and I'll have to remind myself personally to do this at the end, but right now I'm just building with all brick, but I do want to dot in granite throughout the build, and that'll give it some more texture. So maybe if I put some of this stuff here now, that'll remind me. Because like even that small little amount, that adds some depth to it that you get bogged down with all the brick too much. Anyway, so as you can see in the corner there on the left side, you have that little archway. So that is our final section. On each side, we'll do wings. Now that we have half of the outer wall built, it's time to move on to the second half. Based off of this floor plan, it's a little bit the same as the front half in terms of symmetry, except the parlor that's labeled on the floor plan with that grand entrance is a little different on this end, but it'll be quite alright. Seems like I just discovered that I miscounted a block, and so that side over there is one block too close, and now this section right here, which should be an odd number, is an even number. So there's 2 blocks there, and it's hard to move backwards looking at myself. But yeah, so there's 2 blocks here when there should only be 1 like center block. So please enjoy as I rip apart half this house and do it correctly this time. Okay, now we have a center again. Things are back in order. Just goes to show you that best laid plans can be interrupted by just a slight miscalculation. But it's good that we caught it early and we were able to recover pretty simply. So I'm just gonna, recreate the pediment that we have and fill in the walls. And here we are. Here's the front entryway. Again, we're working with what we can in terms of scale and detail. But I do want to stop and pause here because if you look at the door and the windows on this side, they're not surrounded by the same border as the doors on the other side, are they? It's instead of the white and Romanesque side, this is a more tan side. So I think we can just easily get away with these shelves as a nice, whatever they're called. Not curtains, not what are they called? Shutters. They're called shutters. Window shutters. Looking good. At least as good as I can get it for now. We are almost finished with the exterior of Monticello. The crowning jewel, the final piece that we need to do is the octagonal dome at the very top of this entryway. Now this is pretty straightforward from what I can tell. We simply will follow what we've already started on this side before, like the stuff behind the pediment, and just bring it upwards. Alright, now this dome, I am not super confident in how this will turn out, but my plan is that we just use white slabs and go around like this, and we start almost like pyramid formation, but then at a certain point we'll cap it off. But yeah, let's just see how it goes. Okay, not too shabby. I think this is the best that we're going to get it for now, so let's just leave it at this. Alright, now that we have the dome in the front, I think all we need to do for the exterior is build the roof. So the plan is to just fill this in flat with dark prismarine. and seal it up as the roof. But before we do that, I want to build the floor plan out while we still have the open air to do so, and you can really visualize it. So let's start with that. Now, we already have the outline bordered here, so I want to do an interior where the walls aren't also brick. So we'll have brick on the outside, but on the inside we need to pick which blocks we want to have as our walls. Now, Thomas Jefferson, he had wallpaper on his walls, so we can use just solid colors and whatnot to depict the wallpaper. First off, we're going to start with the parlor as it's listed on the floor plan, and that's this front entrance here. And here I want to use yellow because it is reminiscent of Monticello yellow, which is like a big deal there, apparently. Alright, well, barring the lack of closet spaces and pantries and a few other details, I mean, this looks pretty good, all things considered. So let's stick with the plan that we have, the layout, and just raise it up and see how it looks. Here's the final result. I, as you can see, also added torches everywhere and doors, so you can walk into each room. This video is long enough as it is, so I won't be decorating it, but you can imagine where beds would go, where tables would go, all that good stuff. Now, there's only two things left to do, which is to close off the ceiling, and don't worry, I have not forgotten about this yet. We wanna go around and texture the brick with this granite so that it's not just a monolith of brick. So that'll be, well, technically there's 3 steps. We have to close off the ceiling and then the roof, and that'll be 2 different things. I'm going with bamboo for the ceiling for the rooms. No particular reason. I've never really used bamboo, and I thought it would work, and it's pretty arbitrary. You can pick whatever you want as your ceilings. Alright, I think this is it. I think we can sign off on this project. If I had to give it a grade, I'd give it a B. We did what we can with a lot of the details, and I think it came out pretty well overall. Thomas Jefferson made a decently complex house that was his pride and joy. He loved architecture, and so it's no surprise that he went with the more classical route. Combining the pediment with the dome, that's an interesting choice. And also the octagonal rooms, fascinating idea. Not easy to translate into Minecraft, but we made do with it. So thank you for watching Architectural Adventures with Reverb, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye!